Oh, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for logging into our Tuesday Talk Wellness webinar. So this is the first of our series that we're kicking off with this afternoon. It's lovely to have Hannah from the alcohol team coming to join us this afternoon. So welcome, Hannah. So just a quick introduction. So if you're not familiar with the Healthy Workplace programme, we run across the Medway supporting businesses with staff health and wellbeing at work. One of the things we offer different resources to encourage your staff to know more about their health options, how to live a healthy lifestyle. So this month we're going to be looking at alcohol. It was dry January not that long ago. So just having to think about how we can carry on drinking more sensibly and knowing our limits and knowing our units. So I'm going to hand over to Hannah now, who will continue with the session. Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you, Michelle. So as Michelle said, my name is Hannah. I work in the alcohol pathway in the vulnerable adults team at Medway Council. So one of my main job roles is running the Medway alcohol support line, which I will be talking about a little bit later. So in this webinar, I'm going to be going over the current guidelines on alcohol. We'll be going over the recommended consumption and what that actually looks like over a week, and the impacts of that actually over consuming of those guidelines. Some tips and tricks to help lower your consumption, and also how to support those around you and what's available for everyone in Medway. So firstly, what are actually the guidelines via the Chief Medical Officer for alcohol consumption? So it is currently at 14 units a week, and that is for both men and women. If you have seen previously before, those were slightly different. They were changed in 2016. So originally the guidelines for men were a little bit higher. It was 21 units, and I believe it was around 16 units for women. But they have changed those. I say in recent years, it was 10 years ago, but that is still on a lot of people's minds that it was a little bit higher, but it is actually 14 units a week for both men and women. And that's because more guidance and more evidence came out about the sort of linking the risk of overconsumption of alcohol with things like health harms, cancers, which I will be going over a little bit later as well. So this guidance also includes the amount that men and women can regularly drink, as I said, 14 units a week. This also includes one-off sessions, so there is also guidance around what a binge is. So binge drinking is considered to be 6 units for women and 8 units for men in one particular drinking session. So the guidance around those is to avoid those because that's when you're flooding your system with alcohol, which can lead to other health harms. And there's also advice around pregnancy for drinking too. So FASD, which is fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. So the guidance around pregnancy and alcohol is to not have anything while you're trying to conceive and also while you're pregnant, because if you do drink alcohol, then you can put the baby at risk of developing FASD. The guidance as well for alcohol consumption is to spread your drinking out across a week. So not having it all in one session, which would be considered a binge, but drinking your units over the week. And what I will say as well with the 40 units a week is it's a limit, not a target. We do tend to suggest people drink underneath those 14 units a week. So what is a unit? I keep saying units, but actually what does that mean? In the sort of the definition is a single unit of alcohol is 10 milliliters of pure alcohol. So that it depends on what alcohol or what spirit or what you're drinking. It depends on what a unit is. So there is a formula to work out what a unit is of different types of alcohol. So we have the strength, which is also called the ABV, which is alcohol by volume. So if you pick up a wine and it's 13%, that's the ABV, or you can have 11%, or if your beer is 4%, that's what the ABV means. And then the volume in milliliters, divide that by 1,000 is the number of units. But there are tools that you can use. So DrinkAware has one, TriDry has one, and I'll ask Michelle and everyone to send out some of the links to those after the session, so you can have a look. So you don't have to work it out all the time. You can just pop it into an app and then it can work it out for you. And also they have to have the units on the back of bottles of alcohol, cans of alcohol by law as well. So they have to have the strength, they have to have how much is in it, and they also have to have the amount of units that's in that too. So if you pick up a bottle of wine, you're probably going to see 10, 11 units. Or if you pick up a can or of a pre-mixed drink, you might see 2 units, or beer, it might be 3. It just depends on the alcohol, but it is something they have to have on there by law. But one of the main things that I will say with the units is remembering that 1 unit does not equal 1 drink. Normally a drink is more than 1 unit, which I will go over now. So actually, what does that 14 units a week actually look like in the sense of drinking? So we've got if we have a strong pint of beer, which would probably be about 3 units if it's a stronger one. you're looking at 4 pints a week, which I'm sure people can sort of imagine is quite easy to actually go over that. And that would also be, if you were just drinking beer, that would be spread out across your week. So also with a glass of wine, we've got a 2.3 sort of unit glass of wine. There's 175 millilitres would be a medium pub pour as well. So that's a medium glass of wine from a pub, and you'd be looking at 6 glasses of wine across a week as well. And that would again be spread out and making sure you're having your alcohol-free days. And the next one is a single measure of a spirit. So if you go to a pub, you ask for a single, that's a 25 millilitres of, again, that's a sort of standard whiskey or a standard vodka at 40%. This looks like a lot, and to be fair, it is. 14 shots is a lot, but if you're drinking doubles, then that obviously goes back down to 7. So across the week, that's sort of more what your alcohol consumption would look like drinking within recommended guidelines, and that is also drinking up to the recommended guidelines too. That is your 14 units a week, especially with the spirits there. But actually, what is the calorie intake of these drinks? So for the 4 pints, there are 222 calories each, roughly. I did this on averages, but that would be 888 calories, and that's just on the alcohol. Alcohol has very little nutritional value, so you're drinking almost at that, well, not almost, but almost up to 1,000 calories with no nutritional benefit. The wine's more. The wine's actually nearly creeping up to 1,000 calories there. And the spirits is a little bit less with 700, but that's still no nutritional value that you're getting through drinking those. Sorry, my throat's a little bit dry. I'm not overly well at the moment. Right, so impact of the consumption of alcohol. So these are all health harms that I've put up here too. So this is drinking over recommended guidelines on a frequent basis. Can lead to things like brain damage, strokes, you think your cardiovascular diseases, lots of different cancers, so throat cancer, mouth cancer, also breast cancer for women is a big one as well. Heart disease, liver disease, again, your cardiovascular diseases, and also impacts on mental health. And there's a couple of things I haven't popped up on the screen, but alcohol has so much further impacts as well with people. If you're regularly over-consuming alcohol, for some people it might impact their relationships. They might watch their relationships break down because of the impact it's having on their mental health. Weight issues, which is one of the reasons why I brought up the calories. So like remembering that calorie intake of all those drinks, it might end up causing weight gain. Hangovers is another big one. So if people are regularly over-consuming, especially in the evening, they're waking up, they're having a hangover, they feel like they're maybe unable to come into work, or they feel that they are unable to do what they need to do regularly because of their constant hangovers. Issues around sleep's such a big one for a lot of people. Lots of people will think that alcohol actually helps them get to sleep, and it does in a sense of it gets you to sleep faster, but your sleep will be very disjointed. So issues around sleep, and also lower mood and higher anxiety, because alcohol is a depressant. So, and also there are a lot of signs that you can sort of look out for if people are over consuming. Again, a lot of those things will come from other issues as well, but they can be linked back to the overconsumption of alcohol on a frequent basis. And also remembering that people who could be struggling with their alcohol intake might feel quite ashamed of their if they feel like they have a problem, then there's quite a lot of stigma and quite a lot of shame that could come attached to that. So sometimes it's just remembering as well, if actually this person might be struggling, but they might not want to seek sort of more support for it. So IBA stands for identification and brief advice, and I've popped all this on here about having that conversation with people about if they feel like they do need that support, where can they go to. But also it's about remembering that talking about alcohol can be very difficult for people, like I said, about the shame. And it's always about making sure that people know that they can talk to you without feeling judgment or feeling like they're going to be judged or perceived in a different way if they do come to people. So creating that safe environment for people. Thinking about in the workplace, sometimes it's just about having a poster up in a staff room or having something up there where people can see it and self-refer into services instead of feeling that pressure to have to come and talk to someone else about it. And also just making sure that people know that they're in a safe environment and they can talk to other people about it if they wish to. Also thinking about what works best for your staff members, or what works best for your own workplace. Is it having those resources available? Is it having maybe like a staff member that people know they can go to if they need particular help? And also just knowing that they can talk to their managers if they need to as well. But if someone does open up about possibly having an issue around their drinking, what can you do? Sometimes diving a little bit deeper, asking them questions like, what do you enjoy about your drinking? Or is there any particular thing that makes you feel like this could be an issue for you? Or is there ways that alcohol has stopped you from doing what you need to do? And also acknowledging that they have actually done a really difficult thing by coming to someone and talking about their alcohol. It's a really big step and it's a really difficult thing to do for people. And then sometimes as well, making them think about what advantages they could have from making this positive behaviour change. And also, do they feel like they would need support? And that's such a big one, is if they do, you feel like you actually need support at the moment with that? And then you can help them make a referral onto a service if that's something that they wish to do. And it's always about making sure that they don't feel like they're judged, acknowledge that they've made a big step by talking to someone about it. It should also be very respectful. I feel like I don't even need to say that. It needs to be respectful, empathy, and also remembering that motivations are different for people. So sometimes even just asking them what is the positive behind making this behaviour change, and then sort of realising why they have their own motivations can be enough for them to make those changes themselves or reach out for support if they need it. So what can everyone do to sort of start reducing is setting a budget for yourself. So having a set amount of money you want to spend on alcohol in a week, having a plan if you're going out. I'm going to be the designated driver tonight, or I only want to buy 2 glasses of wine, stuff like that. And if you know that you can stick to the plans that you've set, then it's great to just sort of push yourself forward that way. Push back the time of your first drink is a really good one. So if you know that you tend to have a drink at about 6 o'clock because that's when you eat dinner, push back that time, have it after dinner, or instead of having it while you're cooking, have it while you're eating instead, and you've already cut that drink out. Swapping for alcohol-free alternatives doesn't work for everyone. But it's a really good way that you can sort of cut out drinks, especially like alcohol-free ciders and beers. Making sure you keep yourself hydrated, which I'm actually going to do now. But yeah, so making sure you're drinking water, because as well, if you have a drink of water 1 round, then you've cut out that drink. And having alcohol 3 days in the week, which I've also said earlier as well, is part of the guidelines. So what support is available in Medway? The first one's the Try Dry app, which is actually available to everyone in the country. So the Try Dry app is an app for unit calculations. So it's actually one of the things I mentioned earlier about counting those units. It's all about setting budgets, setting goals for yourself, tracking how many units you're drinking in the week. And it's a really useful app that you can use to sort of count your units and help you reduce. That is available via the Alcohol Change UK website. It's also available on like the Play Store, the Apple Store. It's available everywhere for everyone. The Medway Alcohol Support Line is my service. So this is a telephone support line for individuals who wish to start reducing, but they're not at that point of dependency. So they want some help, they want some guidance, but they don't have to. It's all over the telephone, so they don't have to go anywhere for it, and it just gives them it gives them someone to talk to about helping reduce their alcohol intake. And then there's a lot of information up here. I won't read through it all, but Forward Trust is the drug and alcohol service in Medway. So if people are struggling with possible dependency, then this would be the guys they go to. They're based in Kingsley House, and it's for anyone who lives in Medway. And if they live outside of Medway, then they can refer them over to the dedicated service for them. And we also have a recovery service for people in Medway too. So after they finish their treatment with Forward Trust or me, they can move over to the recovery service and they can be with those guys for as long as possible to help with relapse prevention. I've talked to Frank on here for a little bit, just in case anyone's interested in learning a little bit more. So obviously I'm alcohol, but if there are any issues around any drugs, or if you wanted to learn a little bit more about any possible drugs, then this is a really good website to go for. Again, I'll get the guys to send out a link with this so you can have a look at the website. And the last thing what I wanted to say is drugs and alcohol is and addiction is a very difficult topic for a lot of people, and it's very complicated. Never advise someone to fully just stop drinking, because it can be quite dangerous for them, and understanding that it might take several attempts for people to change their habit, and just also being someone where someone can come and talk to you is a really important thing. just being that person that you know, or someone knows that you're going to be there for them, is so important, and it can really make a positive impact to their behavior change, and just knowing that actually I can talk to this particular individual and I'm not going to be judged. So I think that's everything question wise. Yeah, that's it. Does anyone have any questions, or I will pass back over to Michelle before I do that.
Yeah, thank you, Hannah. That was really useful, and I think it's always helpful for us to know how to work out our units and some top tips and how we can cut down. And I think it's right just to be in a listening ear to someone who's struggling can really help them to seek help. So if anyone has got any questions, please, if you feel brave enough to unmute, you're more than welcome to. If you'd rather just pop anything in the chat, that's an option too. And we'll stop the recording now. We won't share the questions just in case